Hello there, I'm Luis with the EOS Communications and Marketing team. Such a pleasure to meet you here. I'm with Ken Hutchins.
Hi, I'm CCO for EOS Loan, and we are coming to you live
Live,
live
live from
from RE Plus
yeah,
here in the Brazil room.
yeah. We're here at the Brazil room. For those of you who don't know, EOS is an American company, but we have a sister company in Brazil called EOS as well. And we share the same technology. Ken is gonna give you a brief intro as far as what we do and what we offer, just so maybe someone who's popping in and don't know us yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we are a lending platform. Is essentially what we are. Is a marketplace where we have the goal is to have multiple lenders, everything from personal loans to home improvement loans to secured loans to other more exotic financing, so that we can help homeowners go solar through their contractors at the point of sale. What does that translate into? That means choice for the homeowner and choice for the salesperson, so we can find the perfect solution for anybody at the point when they are going solar if they can't pay cash. Anywhere in the United States. Right now, however, we are focused on just the Texas market, specifically Austin and DFW. We plan on launching statewide in Texas very soon, and within a month or so, we will actually be in all of Florida. Is our goal.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and so great news, right, for the Floridians.
Yeah, and that's breaking news, really. Yeah. Which kind of leads into, I guess, being here at RE Plus. I haven't been to RE Plus since before it was Intersolar and SIA and all of that, and so it's been about 10 years for me. So it's coming back here. It's kind of been a lot of memories, seeing people, a lot of people, right? But the big takeaway for us has been, Florida is the up and coming place, right? There's a lot of talk about California. There's a lot of talk about problems with California, the net energy metering 3.0 and how to solve that, and the batteries and all that. But really, what we hear over and over again are, the place where everyone wants to go, the place where everyone wants to be, is in Florida. That's where we need to have, really, really good work being done in terms of solar. And quite frankly, what's interesting about Florida and Texas specifically is that Texas and Florida use more electricity than any other states. Both of them lead in terms of the consumption level. Their prices are pretty low, and so the other thing we've heard is that in this environment, the current incumbents, as far as the lenders, it's not sustainable. It's not doable. They've seen a dramatic drop in the number of applications, number of sales. We've all been taught to sell solar to homeowners on a savings basis, and there aren't savings are scarce and hard to find.
Right.
And so we have solutions that do offer savings.
Right.
And we've actually made connections with people here who we plan on adding to the platform.
Yeah.
Who also have better than what the incumbents have available. And that should be something that we are available in Florida very, very soon.
Yeah. And we're so glad to have the opportunity to be here, because we see the sheer size of this trade show and of this event in general, and people coming from all over the world, really, but mostly from the United States, of course, and those contractors from all over the United States. Yeah. Now we see so many companies trying to offer products and coming in with the new solar panels, new inverters, but we see very few financing options and financing solutions. And when we go talk to you, for example, as a contractor, or as a player in the market right now, the pain points, what's preventing us from selling more systems. It's just the cost of financing and really being able to fit that into the homeowner's pocket right now, and offering those 25, 30-year sort of financing options, right? And I think there's a big takeaway there too. I think we see so much space for us to be able to connect and contribute to the market right now, and bring in new financing options, right?
Yeah. Well, and actually,
do you have the same sense?
I do, absolutely. Yeah, and to take that a step further would be that there's a sense of desperation here in terms of financing,
right?
Especially within the financing world. And there's been a lot of talk of, the return of third-party ownership, right? Which would be PPAs, but more, more relevant here would be leases.
Right.
And some of the, what we experienced literally a little over 10 years ago was in the industry was this desire to have, or this need to have leasing and financing being available because it was the only way to take advantage of the tax credit for most homeowners, right? We hadn't developed some finance products yet.
Yeah.
But back then it was all about, okay, we can give them a lease and we can monetize tax credit so we can give them that 30% off.
Right.
And we can make that payment work, right? And now it's become something similar again of if we can reduce that system price, we can reduce that monthly payment up front for the homeowner. We can do a money factor and figure out how to kick the can down the road when it comes to doing this. And so we're seeing the return of leases specifically within manufacturers are starting to and distributors are trying to come out with their own in-house lease products, right? Yeah. But what we all know is that homeowners don't want leases, right? And that leases are bad for home values.
I was going to ask you that, because you're a homeowner. Would you like a home?
No, I would not do a lease. And the reason why mainly, and the main reason why is, a lease, the difference between lending and a lease, right? A loan and a lease is that a loan, you have the principal amount, and every day over the course of a month, you're adding a little bit of interest, but then that gets paid off when you make your payment. You pay off part of the interest as well.
Right.
And what that means is that at the end, if you prepay it early, you don't pay for all this, the interest that would have been accrued over time.
Right.
The issue with a lease is that, with that payment, you always factor in the money factor, or another way of putting that is, a really fancy way of saying interest, right?
Right.
And so, but with a lease, you are obligated to make the totality of all those payments, right? And so, as a homeowner, when you're selling your house, if you have to pay off that lease early, you have to make the sum of all those payments. So in a way, there's a weird prepayment penalty, but it's just you have to make the sum of all those payments, so it's not considered that.
Right.
Right. Same thing goes with when you are selling your home, even with just in any other way. Like it's the only other option is to transfer that to a homeowner, right, to the new buyer.
Right.
And for them to be able to pass a credit check right after they bought a house, you have a very limited amount of time. And what happens if they don't? Then you're stuck. Then you have to pay it off anyways. It's a mess, right?
Right.
And so leases are something that, there's a reason why we shifted to lending in the market about 10 years ago. And that's because the economy had recovered enough that people wanted to own it again. But also we were starting to see, 3 or 4 years in, what had happened with the leases and the PPAs, right? And how just not great they were overall, right? And so to see them returning to that, to me, just speaks of desperation of the industry.
And the lack of options, right?
Yeah, and that's the area where we get to draw a difference. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, I think I think we're taking a step back and just driving the customer to what he or she they don't want to get, right? And we're trying to force that as a solution. Now, of course, there are the different arguments that could be made in terms of recovering, tax of assets and just having new products out there and new options. But really, I mean, we want to give the homeowner, the customer, the end benefit of owning a system, right?
Yeah,
and adding that value to their property and really producing their own energy. That's theirs, right? Yep. They don't have someone else owning that system.
I would actually go a step further and say, though, that at this point, what we're going to start to see again, and a word that actually came up for us with one of the lenders that was a little bit disturbing is the word steering.
Right.
And you're going to see salespeople attempting, not knowing what they're doing, but effectively steering people, customers to these solutions because they know how to sell them better.
Yeah.
Right. And they think it's something good, but it may not be what's best for the customer, right? So we're starting to see these other, this crowded space get a little more crowded with leases. But, what's different about our product, our program, what we've seen and kind of proves our thesis overall is, we're going to stay away from leases, number one, because we don't want them, right? Because to your point earlier, they're not good for the homeowner, right? But we are going to have a variety of different lending and financing options, right? And so we want to make sure that, we have enough solutions, and what we're seeing is the market needs this, that, we have a wide variety of options so we can find what's best for that particular homeowner, right? And make sure that they know about all their different options and how they all work, right? So we're simplifying the way of explaining all of that, right? But everything from your traditional loan to your personal loan to your UCC1 filing loan to your, HELOC to some of the more other exotic things, all of those.
Good luck with your project.
Oh,
there.
we're live here, man.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So, but all of that kind of comes into play together
Mm-hmm.
to create that opportunity and just transparency for the customer.
Okay.
That's really been lacking
Yeah.
in a really strong way that offers that no one else seems to be doing,
Mm-hmm.
and people have seemed to want to.
Yeah.
But we've also seen a lot of companies that are incumbents, right,
Mm-hmm.
who attempt to throw their weight around
Yeah.
into programs like this, where they attempt to say we need to be a first look or something. We're not playing that game, right? We want
Right.
everyone to see everything, so that the homeowner gets to decide, right?
Yeah, because it's right in our DNA. It's within our purpose, right? To make homeowners' lives better by making their choices more sustainable and affordable. So we're really worried about the customer here and giving them a great experience and a great end result, right? So
yes, but also allowing them to make the decision, right? And giving them the tools, abilities, and options to make the decision that's best for them and their family and their situation.
Now let's take a step back here and just talk about the market in general, because I think as a contractor out there, or as a someone who's playing in this market, just wanting to know more of what's going on here. I think there are different types of themes.
Yeah.
But we always go back to this major theme of the Inflation Reduction Act and all these different programs that are incentivizing and really driving growth into the market. We know probably contractors are feeling and experiencing a little bit of that pain of having higher interest, and maybe that's affecting sales. But we know that the U.S. market is going to blow out of proportions with all these Inflation Reduction Acts and things like that really drive growth. Now, these are the points of the president of the SEIA Association, right? Solar Energy Industries Association, and she mentioned, that the major theme here is actually these programs and incentives that should generate over $500 billion in solar in the next solar investment in the next decade. So $500 billion in investments in the next decade. So that should drive market a little bit, market growth.
Now, is that for residential or is that for all?
That's total.
Okay, so but
that's still a lot.
So,
yeah, and I would guess that residential probably takes the majority of it.
Yeah, well, let's just assume 50% to be generous, right?
Yeah.
And that's 2.5 billion, right?
Yeah. That would be 250 billion.
250 billion, right? Okay, so number one, the tax credit, right, being available. There's been discussion around whether or not you can now at the residential level monetize that or not, right?
Yeah.
But there's definitely going to be pieces there. We are able to bring some things to market that should be able to help with bringing down the price. I think the fact that we have $420 billion available to be able to help low income and disadvantaged people, right?
There you go.
It's going to be huge. One of the areas where we really want to focus is on helping people with lower end credit scores.
Okay.
Right? So people that
How low?
I would love to go down to like a 480, even,
wow.
right? But like 500, I know that we'll be able to do in the next month or so. But we want to be able to continue to develop products for that group because they are disadvantaged, right? They may own a house, they may have had something where they inherited it or they were able to get it at one time, but then life happened and their credit took a beating, right?
And sometimes it's not by creating that product. It's not even a matter of getting the incentive, but really designing a product that can tap into what they have, like home equity, right? Sometimes they do have that access to that type of.
But then how do we help them pay it off as well, right?
Right.
So finding a way to help get them through all of that, right? What do you do with people? And this is where the lease comes in. It does solve the problem, but we need to do a better job, right? Of what happens if they don't have enough tax liability to take advantage of the tax credit? How do we help them, right? And there's companies out there now that are trying to figure out how to purchase the tax credit from people so that they can, be able to monetize this. And we discovered one here, and we're going to be talking with them about getting them onto the platform, right? And they're not in very many states right now, but we want to help them get to more states, specifically the states that we're in. There's a lot of different things that we found here that are going to be great. And to your, to the point, there's a lot of money out there and this is going to grow. And however, it's not going to grow the way it did, right? There's going to be a shift here, right? It's, the days of, specifically in financing or residential solar, the days of, the unsecured dealer fee coupled with an interest rate, those days are coming to an end, and I don't think they'll ever really return. Because by the time they do, there will be better options in place, right? But we part of the reason why we started EOS is to bring these options that no one else had thought of before, right? And so we have options that are going to be tackling that.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and when you talk about money and the market and the sector maturing and really being able to handle risk better and just making resources a lot more efficient in terms of deployment. I always go back to the idea of how people understand solar sometimes as a gold rush, and I think that's gonna have to end, right? Because I mean, the market and the way we sit today here at this huge event is it just has matured so much and it has grown. But a lot of these professionals, they really need to have a professional approach. They really need to have their credibility in check and the reviews and all that. So we see a lot of people trying to tap into specializations and really being better every day. So as a platform, we can I guess add to that, right? And bring in a lot of specialization in terms of financing, because we can go to their needs and the ones out there who are trying to sell all these products and really contribute to the market.
And along those lines, I mean, when you see an interest, or when you see a dealer fee, right, of, let's call it 25%, right? That means that you just took a $3 watt system and you made it $4.
Right.
If it was $4, you just made it, what is that, like $5.25 or something like that, right? Like you're bringing up the cost in like this astronomical way, right? And then you're giving someone a lower interest rate as a result, because of the way that all works. And to your point, there's been this rush to the bottom in terms of cost, right? And I think we're seeing a pullback on that a little bit. Part of it's just inflation, have to pay people more, and material costs more, but also people are realizing the value of the products that they're starting to produce that go on people's roofs and last 30, 40, 50 years, right? Like that's pretty incredible, right? That they're going to last that long. And there's a price to go along with it. And I think most homeowners are willing to pay that price. But they're not willing to do, though, is feel like they're paying too much, right? And our traditional incumbent financing has put itself in a position, not totally on their fault, right? They just find themselves in this position where they can't truly, their dealer fees and their model has become outdated, right? And so, to your point, as we continue to mature as an industry, probably the place to cut to start bringing down the cost, right, is not in the equipment, and it's definitely not in the cost of labor, right?
And, I mean, we need that quality. We need that.
And people deserve to be able to make a good living, right? And when an installer is making $12 an hour, they're not making a good living, right? Like anyone who works in solar who's on people's roofs all day deserves to own their own roof,
right?
And so we need to pay them well. But the way we do that is by bringing down the cost of the financing side, as opposed to continuing to drive down everywhere else.
There's so much room to cut there instead of cutting wages and driving competition by lowering quality. I mean, that makes no sense. And to drive those jobs that we want to create as a sector, as a market here, we really need to make sure we get the good professionals, qualified professionals. Now, I want to go back to the talking points from the CIA president. There's always the relevance of having that American energy independence, right? And I want you to talk a little bit about that, because I guess just by being here and we have to deal with all the inflation, consequences of the economy and things like that. Now, we just saw that, I think it was today or yesterday, the last numbers for inflation came out, and gas was actually up like 10% in the last few months. So it's crazy, and rely on having price stability is so important. Now, can you talk a little bit about how solar could maybe contribute to that?
Yeah, so this is kind of a broad topic, and I have a lot of thoughts on it, but I'll try and keep it constrained. So the big thing that I'm seeing this year, and I promise this ties into this, right, is that, in years past, my understanding is that, China used to dominate all the equipment spaces completely, right? Like just dominate. And that's starting to wane. Now, there's still the vast majority, I'd say like 80% of the stuff out there is still from China. But it's starting to see, it used to be like 5% was otherwise. Now we're starting to see a concerted effort away from the Chinese panel, from Chinese parts, right? And it's good to see that happening, right? Because I think that, when you have things made more locally, right, from a global perspective, an energy independence sector, it reduces our, like, just think about it in terms of, if we're thinking about things from dust to dust, right, which is how I like to think about it, whether it's car or anything. And what I mean by dust to dust is literally from concept, right, from the time you first conceive of something, what is the energy that goes into producing that thing,
right?
And then how about when it goes back into, after its lifetime is over,
Yeah.
what can you do with it, right? And so the more recyclable, right, the more like non-exotic parts, like the better, right? The fewer parts, the better, right? And as you're putting it all together, how quickly you can develop it. Well, one of the big areas that we actually generate a lot of pollution on, in addition to just making it, right, is like the power plants that are happening overseas are not nearly as clean as the ones we have here.
Yeah.
Another thing that's happening is you have to put them on a boat and ship them.
Right.
And you go through a lot. Or worst case is you put them, worse is sometimes they put them on, cargo planes. And,
right.
Those things burn hundreds of gallons per hour of fuel, right? Like way worse for the environment, right? Than being able to manufacture something here with our regulations, right? And yes, we're a little bit more expensive, but from a energy security standpoint, being able to manufacture here, local, is good, right? And I think that Chinese panels should be made in China for the Chinese market, right?
Which is huge as well.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Offers so many opportunities for their entrepreneurs.
And I think about it.
Some other countries like Brazil rely a lot on Chinese manufacturing.
And figure out how do we make stuff in Brazil for Brazil, right? And
that transfer technology, right?
Exactly. And it's more of a let's make local and install local, right? I think
so that you can make sure that in 10 years you're gonna have that supply guaranteed at least to a point where you need it. Right?
Well, and you can produce more if stuff goes wrong, and it's energy independence, but it's also national security. All kind of comes together around that, right? And so, like, I look at that as being something that we're starting to see a turn in the industry, right? Away from just cheap to quality, right? Inexpensive
and
quality,
security,
and security. I mean, and then like very broadly speaking, the more solar we have combined with more batteries, the better, right? Texas had a couple of years ago it's Snowmageddon, right? Where it snowed and everybody lost power for a while. Well, the main reason why everyone lost power was not because the turbines froze or any of the stuff they put out there. It's literally because Texas is a place where it doesn't snow and there isn't ice, and they didn't have equipment to get the ice and the snow off the road so that the people that work at the power plant could literally get there to keep it running, right? So like that's what kind of led to a lot of the problems, right? But if a lot more people had solar, then reduced stuff on the grid during that time would have been fine, right? Like it helps with that energy independence. Should it all convert over to solar? No, we need a mix, right? A mix is healthy. It's just like we hear, investment portfolio. You need a healthy kind of, distribution of risk, right?
Right.
Use a quadratic formula to figure out what your risk horizon is and go from there, right? But to your point earlier, though, as far as like energy independence, like that's how we get here, right? We make this a very big part of it, and I think that the more that we have people having at least some sort of energy generation device local, the better.
For a homeowner, I've had solar in my own house, and I know how much of a safety concern is. And now with the batteries, you can have that energy production and the fact that you can make sure that you have some backup power or the ability to really harvest the best of your solar system, right? Because when there are different tariffs and rates for energy consumption, now you can store it and just make your consumption and generation more efficient. So that's right on point to empowering customers and consumers, right? I mean, that makes so much sense. And once you get that on your house or in your business, I mean, it makes you feel better.
Exactly. Yeah, and that is a key piece of it.
Yeah.
All right, what other talking points do we have?
I think in terms of what Abigail brought, and Abigail is the president of SIA, they're just the theme of building equitable and highly skilled labor force, which I think we addressed. Unleash American energy dominance, and to this point, really cleaning up the energy matrix here, and just having that security that we just talked about, right? And having that dominance in energy, which is going to drive all the other sectors, because for you to make anything in the economy, you need energy, right? And for you to live, you need energy. It's the first thing you do in the morning. You just switch the light on, right?
Or you turn off your alarm clock, which is powered by what? Energy.
And on the agenda here, we talked about American clean energy manufacturing, and that goes back to the idea of having energy security. I mean, it's not a matter of just having that energy deployed, but really being able to manufacture the equipments that go into that system.
Yeah, for replacements.
And with all that, I mean, the U.S. is putting itself in a place where it could export technology potentially in the near future here, developing all that, manufacturing space. And really, you just drive consumption within the market, which is what we're looking for here, right? As a credit hub, and we're really looking forward here and towards this market growth of over 52%, possibly in 2024. So looking ahead next year, if you're joining us and if you're just as excited as we are here in terms of opportunity, I mean, looking at a market that could grow 50% in the next year, so it's so exciting.
Well, and for us, part of my excitement too is us getting into, say, Florida and then Georgia, and then being able to go to California and then go national, right? Like that's really exciting as well. And we've made a lot of the right contact. We have a lot of capital partners that we're going to be putting on the platform in the near future. Right? And you kind of alluded to it earlier, but one of the big things that we'll be able to do here is bring on some unique products, right, that are starting to gain a lot of traction in other industries, but are new here, right? We have a product that quite literally, there are no payments, right? There is, there's.
So we're going from low payments, which is
okay.
what people are really trying to go for here, to no payments. Is that what you're saying?
That is an option, right? And there's no such thing as a free lunch, and the question is how you pay for this, right? But when you sell your house, no matter what, you're gonna have to pay off whatever you haven't paid off on your solar system,
right?
And if you have an interest rate or you've had a dealer fee that free pays a lot of this, you're going to have a lot that has to be paid off anyways, right? And so the way that we've found to do it is we have partners now who will give money up front in exchange for being paid back when the home is sold. Right. And we will be unveiling more of this in the future. But we recently heard a roundtable about a month ago. There was a forum that was called an online one, and sponsored by one of the big platforms out there that does the like project generations, right? And they had a roundtable at the end that was really fun to listen to, and overcoming objections. And one of the questions was, how do you help someone that says, I haven't been able to get any savings, right? And basically it boiled down to the way to answer that question was, if I can save you $10 a month, will you go solar today, right? And that felt very salesy. And all we could do is laugh at each other and look at each other and grin and be like, how about no payments? Right? How about you save everything, right? And so these are some things we'll be bringing to Florida in the very near future. And it's going to be really exciting when we're there. Obviously there's a lot more details, right? And we're not going to talk about all of it.
It's not today that we're going to expand on that, but
but it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're in Florida,
pay attention to that.
Like this is going to be huge.
Stay tuned. That's what I always say. Stay tuned to our content here and to our events and lives and emails, whatever you can, keep in touch with here and sustain in terms of communication with EOS, please do, because we are going to need some good partners. We're in search of them and reaching out as we make connections here. And of course, we made a bunch here on RE Plus, but there's always opportunities here along with us. So stay tuned. We're expanding, and it's been such a pleasure to really share all this knowledge and perceptions here in terms of the trade show, right?
And it's been great being here. And this has been wonderful.
I hope to see you maybe next year at Anaheim. It's going to be the next RE Plus.
Although, you know what? RE Plus, we are going to be in the Florida one.
So right? next month, right?
So we're going to be there.
If you're around, make sure to reach out. We're going to be in Fort Lauderdale for that RE Plus regional event, and hopefully connecting with you. Thank you so much for watching, our content here, our live stream from RE Plus, right here from Las Vegas. It's been a wonderful day. Thanks, Ken, for being part of it, and
100%. Thanks for inviting me.
Being such a good partner here. Starting off our events here, and hope to see you on the next video and live streams. So stay tuned, and hope to see you there. Bye bye.